Oh, I bust the string straight away. Sorry. Terribly sorry. Found the string.
Julie, no minor. 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4.
Difficulty I've had because it's a concept. Because if somebody said no, it doesn't go like that, it goes like that. But it goes like that, and it goes through everything, and it can be, you know what I mean? Just one bit of music can be pop, jazz, classic, whatever you'd want to do to it. It is.
How are we doing, Hal?
There's some great moments singing that, Paul, but it wasn't the one.
To make it better. It's the second one out of every three. It is the one.
Do you want to hear any of it before you do any more, or do you want to go straight for another?
Taking the lead. You know, John, I'm very, very glad that you sang that.
Jolly good, really.
Yes, I'm particularly glad for Gwendolen Hopkins of Lempton Abbey Estate in Nottingham, because she says that she wouldn't love you anymore if you hadn't sung it. Aren't you glad?
Yes.
Oh, well,
all right.
Say hello.
Hello.
So, yeah, I started collecting Beatles stuff back in 1963. I was 9 at the time, and at home there was just myself and my dad. Dad was always into music. He had an old radiogram and he'd play us things like Perry Como, Dean Martin. We'd listen on the radio late at night. We'd lie in bed and listen to the little tranny that we had, a little transistor radio, and we'd listen to Radio Luxembourg. But I specifically remember 1963 in that there was a competition in a newspaper. It showed a picture of the Beatles with shaved heads, and you had to make up a slogan to go with it. How come the Beatles had lost their hair? Really just a newspaper competition. But I remember entering that. I can't remember what I wrote or what we wrote, but my dad encouraged me. And that probably became one of the first cuttings, because then I started to collect cuttings out of newspapers. And then 1963 was Hanley. We had Lewis's opened, and if you go up to Hanley now, you'll find Hanley Stoke-on-Trent. There's a great big it's called the Fireman, but he looks like Jack Frost, a giant statue stuck on the side of the Lewis's building. And we used to go in there, and it was incredible. They had escalators. It was the very first time we'd ever seen escalators, and both me and my dad used to go and play on the escalators. But why I mentioned the escalators, right at the bottom was a place that sold photographs of pop stars, and that's where my pocket money used to go. So, and I used to buy these little photographs for 1 and 6. So it went from scrapbook cuttings, photographs. I eventually got a record player, started to collect records, and then anything and everything that I saw to do with the Beatles, if I could afford, I would buy. The autograph there, and Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr. When they had in the little scrapbooks, which is what these are from, the tendency was to get 4 on a page, because these were obtained personally, not by me, but by a Beatles fan, a young lady who went up to the Twickenham film studio set. She actually got a whole page each, which gives you a really wonderful example of Beatles autographs, 1965. The Beatles music was, I suppose, instantly catchy. It was good pop music, and best of all, it was actually written by Lennon and McCartney. It was their own stuff, whereas previously you listened to people who were singing other people's stuff, and there were always a variety of versions of songs out. Anyway, look, back in 1985 I also did Beatle Quest, which is the world's first computer game involving the Beatles. So yeah, I wrote it, I programmed it. Very primitive. It's a text adventure game. In fact, if you go on the internet, you can download Beatle Quest for free. It's out there on the internet. You can also download an emulator which will allow you to turn your computer, your PC, into a Commodore 64, which is very retro. I also I met up with a guy who was the Beatles chauffeur, Alf Bicknell, on the road with him for 2 years. Baby, You Can Drive My Car, which is Alf's memoirs, in an interesting little package that we produced ourselves, and 1,000 copies of this. That's all we produced, which is a nice little paperback book, and an audio cassette of me interviewing Alf. So, I then went on. This is, just to show you, this is the Beatles Christmas book. This is Everywhere It's Christmas, which is a book I did with a friend of mine who lives in Kentucky, in the States, with Belmo. You're out there and you think, hang on, we've got a bit of plastic crap here. What's this? This is a little plastic record rack made by the company that did the plastic guitars, etc. These were never ever made. They were never made to last so long. So, and this sticker here, as soon as you put records in here, the first thing that happened was this sticker would get destroyed by the fact that you put records in. Yep, so these are just facsimile ones. But even so, if you could find one with the original stickers, they go for about $4,500. They are Beatles, a Beatles Heineken lager can, back in 1986. All of a sudden Heineken came out with, if you collect the ring pulls off the top of the cans and you collect 4 and you send them off, we'll send you a Beatles cassette. You know, back in the early 60s, if you'd have said to us then, here's some songs from 50 years ago, would you like to listen to them and enjoy them? We'd have gone, what? 50 years ago? God, that's old people music and whatever. And yet today, if you put the radio on, or if you go around shops and you go around anywhere where there's music being played, you hear an awful lot of 50s, 60s in particular, and 70s music.
There will be an answer. Oh, let